Good evening, viewers and listeners of Concerned Citizens Media. Welcome back to my channel. I was away for a while. I appreciate your presence. Thank you for coming back. I'm sorry I didn't give you all the updates, all the crazy stuff happening in this world, but I'm trying from now on, unless some difficulties appear. And I wish you also a happy Thanksgiving. Tomorrow is Thanksgiving, so ahead of time, I wish you a happy Thanksgiving. So I have several news updates, including failed peace talks between Ethiopian government and the Oromo Liberation Army. Plus some other updates on the challenge in Ethiopia, Israel, plus some other news. Thank you again for coming back. Let's get started. So first I will start with this very short video talking about unsuccessful peace talks between Ethiopia and Oromo Liberation Army. Very short video. Then I have also what Al Jazeera and the BBC said on these peace talks. Thank you again for coming back. Today is November 22nd, 2023. Here we go.
A third round of peace talks between Ethiopia's government and a rebel group, the Oromo Liberation Army, has ended without a deal. The talks held in Tanzania were aimed at ending a decades-old conflict in Ethiopia's largest region, Oromia. Earlier rounds in April and May also failed to produce an agreement. The OLA is an outlawed splinter group of a formerly banned opposition party that returned from exile in 2018. Its grievances are rooted in the alleged marginalization and neglect of people in Oromia, which surrounds the capital, Addis Ababa.
Okay.
Is there a hidden camera spying on you right now?
When I say hidden camera, you still think about high-tech.
Now, the family of the missing Ethiopian...
Okay, we'll come back to another victim of this brutal government in Ethiopia, or missing from Kenya, from another country. So the brutality extended to other country. So that is CGTV. Let's see what Al Jazeera says about these peace talks, then also BBC. Let me read. Ethiopia talks with Oromo rebel group end without deal for a third time. A second round of peace talks between Ethiopia's government and a rebel group aimed at ending a decades-old conflict in the country's largest region, Oromia, has ended without a deal, both sides said on Tuesday. The negotiations in Tanzania between the government and the Oromo Liberation Army, OLA, followed talks in April and May that also failed to produce an agreement. The Oromo Liberation Army is an outlawed splinter group of a formerly banned opposition party that returned from exile in 2018. Its grievances are rooted in the alleged marginalization and the neglect of people in Oromia, which surrounds the capital Addis Ababa. The violence in Oromia has killed hundreds of people in the past few years and been one of Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed's main security headaches since the end of a 2-year civil war in the northern Tigray region last year. Due to the intransigence of the other party, the talks have come to an end without an agreement. This is a quote from Redwan Hussein, Abiy's national security advisor, said in a post on social media site X, formerly known as Twitter. The obstructive approach and unrealistic demands of the other party are the principal reasons why these talks could not succeed. In a statement, Oromo Liberation Army accused the government of failing to address the fundamental problems that underline the country's seemingly insurmountable security and political challenges. The East African Trade Bloc, IGAD, Intergovernmental Authority on Development, said on Wednesday it was optimistic about further talks. Its Executive Secretary Workene Gabeyo appealed to the parties to uphold their commitment to the peace process in the best interest of the people of Ethiopia. IGAD will continue to remain seized of the situation and stands ready to provide unwavering support to both sides in their pursuit of a peaceful resolution to the situation, the statement said. The government struck a peace deal in November 2022 to end the conflict in Tigray after tens of thousands of people were killed and millions displaced, but the conflict has raged elsewhere. Besides Oromia, fighting in the neighboring Amara region between the government forces and the local militiamen has killed hundreds of people since late July. Tensions have been rising since April when the federal government tried to dismantle the Fano militia. Okay, that is Al Jazeera. This is from BBC, also maybe a repetition, but some maybe additional information. Ethiopia talks with rebel group OLA ended without deal. The Ethiopian government says the latest round of peace talks with the rebel group Oromo Liberation Army has failed to end with an agreement. One of the government's negotiators, Ridwan Hussein, blamed the OLA, accusing it of an obstructive approach and making unrealistic demands. The government regrets this unfortunate turn of events, Mr. Ridwan said on Twitter, or now known as X. In response, Oromo Liberation Army said the Ethiopian government was only interested in co-opting it rather than beginning to address the fundamental problems that underline the country's seemingly insurmountable security and political challenges. A historical opportunity to take a leap in the right direction has been lost because of Ethiopia's government failed to course correct, OLA statement said. The OLA, which the federal government has designated a terrorist organization, has been fighting the government for the last 4 years, citing what it calls the oppression of the Oromo ethnic group. The talks between the government and the OLA held in the Tanzanian city of Dar es Salaam hope to bring peace for the Ethiopia's largest Oromia region. In the neighboring Amara region, a conflict has been escalating between the army and the militia, which the government has been trying to disband. So that is BBC. So that is unsuccessful third or second attempt of peace talk between Oromo Liberation Army and the government the government of Ethiopia led by Prosperity Party. So that is unfortunate. Most of Oromos in the diaspora community and back home hope to see some successful peace deal to end the ongoing conflict, the ongoing bloodshed, the ongoing abuse in Oromia region, but it didn't work because the demands are, the Prime Minister group, the Prosperity Party, is very hard to make a deal with them, especially when it comes to Oromo Liberation Army. They tried so many times, negotiated with elders when they came back from Eritrea in 2018, multiple times negotiated, settled. Again, this group in power even poison the Oromo Liberation Army fighters and detain them. Still, the Oromo Liberation Army OLF officers are there. The senior officers are still suffering in jail. So who gonna trust? Who gonna trust this current government in Ethiopia? Nobody. They don't have good track record. They have been abusing the power. They have been arresting and torturing Oromos and the Oromo Liberation Army supporters, leaders. So it's very tough for Oromo Liberation Army to agree what the government proposed, like disbanding all these thousands of Oromo Liberation Army fighters or bringing them into a camp like in 1992, what Lench Oleta did. And that consequences, created a dire situation to Oromo businesses, Oromo supporters, Oromos in general, because of Lench Olata's decision to bring the Oromo Liberation Army fighters into, to bound into camps, and TDF, killed so many of them, jailed so many of them in Hurso and other places. So it's very tough to make agreement in such very bad situation. Very tough. And the situation in Oromia now worst, and people are just being killed. Mother is killed for her son, who may be in the military, and she has no control. She can't control her son, and now she's murdered in public for that reason, or by just accusing them supporting OLA. And in the last week, a teacher was killed, accused of coming back from Oromo Liberation Army training camp. Just any excuse can be used to murder you. No accountability at all. No accountability. Nothing. And they don't care. And the brutality, I don't know where they got this brutality. It's very cruel. Just murdering without any court of law in public view. So this group is very tough to deal with. And, we hope to happen, but it's very tough to deal with. Nobody can trust them. And they try to give position for, Kumsa Driba and all these senior OLF leaders, and then disband the rest of fighters who sacrifice a lot for Oromo people. But it didn't work. It doesn't work. And Jal Marro repeatedly say it's not about himself. It's not about him or other senior leaders to get position. It's about fundamental freedom in that country for Oromo people, including self-determination. So that is the situation, and that is the disagreement. And Prosperity Party try to play a game with these senior leaders by providing bribes and positions, and it didn't work. And so we don't know what will be the next step, when they're gonna meet again, how they're gonna reconcile their differences, and transitional, the request for transitional system, transitional government in Ethiopia is a headache for Prime Minister. He doesn't tolerate any talk of transitional government. So we'll see. Very tough anyway, very tough. And all system is collapsed. There is a war also in Amara region, as Al Jazeera and BBC said. The war, the Prime Minister and the Prosperity Party cannot win. You cannot win such kind of war. To win a war, you need local public support. If you don't have that local support, you might bring so many soldiers, you might spend all money you have, you cannot win. And this Prime Minister, can't learn from Tigray region and still engaged in Amara region's war. And he's spending all the resources he has and bringing all this human power from Oromia, Somalia, and other regions. They are dying. The conflict is not ending. The Prosperity Party, officials and the military personnel try to engage with the community. Too many meetings with local communities, and the local communities are expressing their grievances against the Prime Minister and the Prosperity Party. Nothing changed. Nothing changed. So many deaths and destruction in that area too, and nothing changed. The government claimed controlling some area, Fano militia controlling so many areas. So the war continues, is still waging, no ending side. As I said, if you don't have public support, you cannot win this war. But Prosperity Party doesn't listen to anybody. They are acting above the law. No control. They don't have any control. They did not govern by Ethiopia constitution. The constitution is very nicely written, but they don't care. They don't care. People killed in public view, people arrested without court order, detained in thousands. So many Amaras in detention center, just like the Tigray wartime. So many Tigrayans were taken into custody. The same thing is happening in Amara region and beyond. Oromia is in a very miserable conditions. Hunger, disease, unemployment in the country high, and inflation is high in Ethiopia. And the government, Prosperity Party, and Abiy Ahmed are thinking a different way. If you ask for food, they will ask you, we don't have any hunger. And it's in a very tough situation, if you don't have a reliable and a truthful government, dependable government, you cannot get help from international community. Very tough, because the government is talking about exporting farm product when the country is suffering. So that is not true. Nothing is exporting, nothing. But the government is claiming, and it's misleading information. People are suffering. So many millions of people displaced, hungry, and high inflation, high unemployment. So many college graduates, high school graduates without job. So that is a very tough situation. The best thing, I repeat myself so many times, the best thing is to change the system. Change from this Prime Minister with somebody credible, dependable person who can unite the country, who can, deal with Ethiopians in a better way, with a global community, with a best system. And, that is the best thing. That's a transitional government, but Prime Minister allergic to that. So maybe the only way is combined force to remove this system. That may be the best option. But nobody can trust, nobody can work with these people. Okay, let's continue with other news. Here we go. This is Ramaphosa, South Africa president, welcomed Israeli-Hamas deal. And let me read. South Africa's president Cyril Ramaphosa has welcomed the deal between Israel and Hamas for a 4-day pause in fighting. The start of the pause is due to be announced within 24 hours. As part of the deal, Hamas will free 50 hostages it seized last month. Israel will release about 150 Palestinian prisoners. In a statement, Mr. Ramaphosa said, as a member of the international community that stands for the peace, justice, and the rule of international law in all parts of the world, South Africa welcomes the agreement reached. It is my hope that the achievement of this pause will strengthen efforts to achieve an outright end to the current conflict. South Africa's government, led by the African National Congress, ANC, is a long-standing ally of the Palestinians. It has asked the International Criminal Court to issue an arrest warrant for Israel Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu by mid-December over Israel's military operation in Gaza. The government accused Israel of committing war crimes in Gaza. Israel has said that it is acting in self-defense. It launched a major military operation in Gaza in response to a cross-border attack by Hamas on 7 October, in which at least 1,200 people were killed and more than 200 others taken hostage. Gaza's Hamas-run health ministry says at least 14,000 people have been killed in the territory since Israel launched its retaliatory campaign. Credit BBC. So that is the one, very genocidal, indiscriminate bombardment of civilian infrastructure, civilians, babies, children, women living in Gaza, including the elderly and others. And the international community expressed its disapproval, Israeli disapproval of such indiscriminate bombardment. It's a genocide. It's a war crime, really. And you might have already seen the demonstration in UK and several other European countries, Middle East, South America, in the United States, including the Jewish for peace, communities. So the support, the Palestinian support for ceasefire is very, very alarming. But Israel ignored all this cry for peace, for ceasefire, including the United Nations Security Resolution 4 or 3 times. The United States also to blame for this Israeli crime. Joe Biden allowed, Israel to do this crime, to do this genocide. For 45 days, he was just silent, watching on a TV screen the bombardment of Gaza City, the bombardment of babies, women, children, elderly, just, some of them still under the rubble. No time to dig and to dig them out. So it's a war crime, and Israel is above the law. Nobody can control Israel. As long as the United States has a veto power in the United Nations Security Council. So that is embolden Israel to act as she wish and without any concern for international law and humanitarian law. So now they're talking about some successful deal between Hamas and Israel but still the war, the bombardment continues, and Israel is not listening to any, cannot be bound by any international law, despite 120 countries voted for ceasefire, plus Security Council called for pause. It still ignored all these resolutions. It still ignored the call from all international community for ceasefire and for humanitarian support. So we don't know who's gonna control Israel. Nobody. They can bomb Syria. They can bomb Lebanon. They can bomb anywhere they want. Anywhere. The power is in their hand. They don't listen to anybody, and the United States is 100% behind Netanyahu. I didn't expect Biden to act in this way, but Biden is 100% behind this bombardment, indiscriminate bombardment of Gaza City, and the deaths of all these women, children, babies. It's really painful to watch this news. Okay. This is about unidentified illness in Uganda. Already killed 12 people. Uganda health authorities are investigating an unidentified disease outbreak that has killed at least 12 people in a span of 2 weeks in Kyotera district in the central region. Affected patients had rashes on the skin, which kept widening before dying in a matter of days. Some had swollen limbs. Uganda's Ministry of Health has collected fresh skin samples from one of the patients who died at local general hospital last week. Its findings are yet to be shared with the public. Local district health officials say some patients were seeking treatment from traditional healers instead of going to health facilities. So that is a disturbing situation. This from Uganda. It's about unknown disease, and it starts rash on the skin, widening and killing person within a very short period of time. So that's disturbing. We have to keep watching. If we have any update, what is this disease, we'll report to you. Thank you. Let's continue to the videos I selected for you today. This one is talking about one businessman abducted from Kenya by Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed's undercover operatives and taken back to Ethiopia. So the family is crying for help to figure out, to find out where he is. And so let's listen to this and continue with other news. It's very disturbing, the Ethiopia under Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed. Very disturbing. All the laws are broken. Citizens have no laws, even though it's well written in the Constitution. So let's listen.
National Samson Taklemikle has called on the government to help him trace his whereabouts. Now, the family, joined by friends and human rights activists, held a peaceful march in Kileleshwa at the spot where he was abducted to mark 2 years since he was missing. The Haki Africa have hit out at the DCI for taking the family around in circles in their quest for answers. Now, the family of the Ethiopian businessman Samson Teklemikle believes that Kenyan security agencies abducted him and handed him over to the Ethiopian government, adding that Teklemikle was a fierce critic of the Ethiopian government.
Today, we have not heard from him. My kids and I and the rest of the family are suffering. Yes, I've spoken to the Ethiopian embassy, and they keep on telling me they are still investigating. The same thing for Kenyan. I was in DCI. It's been now almost a year. I have not gotten any answer. We can't wait anymore. Tell us what he did, where he is, what is going on. How am I going to answer this all question to my children?
It is unfortunate that until now, the government is quiet. That's why we have the criminal justice institutions, that if people are accused of any crime, they must be arrested, they must be booked, they must be processed and brought in the court of law accordance to the law.
Yes.
What is so different with the case of Samson Tekla Michael? Long live.
Yes.
Wish for the amazing new iPhone 15 Pro.
Do you mean this one, the one with titanium? Switch to Verizon. You can trade in any iPhone and get the new iPhone 15 Pro on them.
It's your last chance to trade in any iPhone for a new iPhone 15
No,
Pro
but
on us, only on Verizon.
Advertisement.
Jimmy Carter do solemnly swear.
She was the first lady to the 39th President of the United States, Rosalind Carter. While in the White House, she broke barriers. She was the first lady to have her own office in the East Wing. She hired policy staff and even carried a briefcase to work. She was her husband's most trusted advisor, most devoted cheerleader, his steel magnolia. But Mrs. Carter had her own advocacy work as well.
Mental health and the problems of the elderly.
As a wife of Jimmy Carter, he is also in a very critical situation now.
Rosalind married Jimmy Carter when he graduated from the United States Naval Academy. She was 18, he was 21. Together, they served the country all the way to the White House. And when they returned to their humble home in Plains, Georgia, they continued to work side by side, still flirting with each other.
I'm going to talk a little bit about Jimmy, and he's not going to like it. There has never been any kind of damage at all to Jimmy Carter's heart. I knew he had a good heart.
Married 77 years, they were global ambassadors for good. Jimmy Carter entered hospice care in February. His wife followed on Friday. She passed 2 days later. Together, they had 4 children, 12 grandchildren, and 14 great-grandchildren. Both she and her husband received the Presidential Medal of Freedom in 1999. For Mrs. Carter, it wasn't about honors or glamour. It was about reading the Bible together with her husband every night until they no longer could.
When you look back, what are you most proud of?
In my entire life experience, I would say it was marrying
the Carter Center also has very humanitarian service in a less developed country in Africa. It's helping disadvantaged citizens. So
nurses are a special breed. We can communicate with only
media
our
express
eyes.
condolences on their passing.
Take a moment.
Our
skin holds secrets,
strength
and
for
our touch
families
warms rooms.
and friends. Of,
we comfort by listening. We also know when
Jimmy
to
Carter
respond
family.
in an instant. We're famous for bringing a sense of calm to any moment and turning darkness into light. It takes someone special to be a nurse.
So this is, you see, even after peace deal, Israel is continuing the bombardment of Gaza City. It's miserable to watch. Please don't watch this with children. Very tough one. Very sad. Very sad. Very sad. Nobody knows how this genocide stops, really. The whole world crying for ceasefire, and Israel is doing this dirty job. And Biden is still silent. Yeah. It will be harder for me to vote for Biden this year, really. Very hard. I didn't, thought he is cruel, just watching the death and the destruction of Palestinians, just in a White House, just watching, and using his veto power to support Israel. This is war crime, but it's a war crime. Where are you gonna take it? Who's gonna enforce it? Very tough one. Okay, maybe one more video.
President William Ruto has lauded the European Union Parliament for its support in the conclusion of the Economic Partnership Agreement between Kenya and the EU. During his address to the EU Parliament in France, President Ruto said Kenya is ready to work with all European countries to boost trade and exchange of innovation for its population. Stephen Leto reports.
President William Ruto made his inaugural address to the European Union Parliament that sits in Strasbourg city in France, where he was accompanied by the Kenyan delegation that is part of the president's trip to Germany and France. President Ruto told the EU Parliament that the European Union remains one of Kenya's key trading allies, accounting for more than a fifth of Kenya's global exports.
Let me express my sincere gratitude for your support in the imminent conclusion of the Economic Partnership Agreement between the European Union and Kenya. This is a major leap forward in our trade and economic relationship. The EU remains one of our most important trading allies, accounting for more than a fifth of Kenya's global exports.
The head of state also told the EU Parliament that many countries continue to feel the effects of global conflicts, particularly in Israel and Palestine, as well as the Russia-Ukraine war, affirming the importance of EU nations standing up for world peace.
New and renewed international conflict and wars, as witnessed most recently in Ukraine, Israel, and Gaza, the Sahel, the Sudan, Somalia, the DRC, creating widespread human suffering and deepening divisions in a period where global collaboration and unity are of paramount importance.
President Ruto told the EU Parliament that global warming is becoming a world pandemic and that it is essential to reassess long-standing assumptions and rethink perceived barriers and take bold and strategic steps to tackle climate change.
As we navigate a new era of global interdependence, this needs to evolve into a reciprocal relationship, a shift towards a more balanced and equitable global partnership with a deliberate transfer of technologies and intentional flow of capital to the global south. And to this also means a seat at the table to look for solutions that work for all of us.
President Ruto, in addition, highlighted the security threats that continue to unfold in the East African region and the threats that the Al-Shabaab terror group continues to pose a threat in the Horn of Africa.
As the Africa Union mission in Somalia is concluding, Kenya as a frontline state will continue our support and collaboration with the government in Somalia to fight against terrorism. This ongoing commitment is crucial for maintaining regional stability, and we count on the EU bilateral support for our efforts in this regard.
According to President Ruto, the resolve to have Kenya send its security forces to Haiti was to join other countries in pushing for stability in sister nations. However, Ruto told the EU Parliament that Kenya expects international support in the venture.
Currently, about 8 countries, including Kenya, are willing to contribute their forces to Haiti, but there is a clear need for assurance of international support. The support from the EU will be instrumental in bolstering the initiative, providing the necessary resources, including legitimacy.
President William Ruto received a standing ovation from members of the European Union Parliament as he concluded his address. Stephen Leto, Citizen TV.
Okay. This makes me jealous. The standing ovation for Dr. Ruto, Kenya's president. That was a position, a long time ago, led by Prime Minister Mela Zenawi. So now we have Abiy Ahmed, who is disrespected at the diaspora community and back home. So we are. That's why we say we must look for a different leadership, the leadership which can be respected at home by its own citizens, and also will get stand innovation in European Union or in US Parliament. That kind of leadership who can work to ease global challenges with the global community. So our Prime Minister was going around. You saw maybe what happened in Germany. He was considered as, genocider, butcher, and it's a different situation now since he came in 2018. 2018 was different. He was welcome. He was celebrated at home and around the world. Now he's hiding. Even he couldn't get out of his car. So that is the situation we are facing. Grave human rights violation back home in Ethiopia. No respect for justice system. No respect for human dignity. That's why we all must call on, must work and must support for a different leadership in that country. Some people are okay, maybe they are making business with the current system. They ignore their participation, or they just trashing the call for change of leadership in that country because they are happy what they are doing with Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed or Prime Minister Prosperity Party. They care about their business. They don't care about the injustice happening against their own people. They don't care. They assume, we are, everything's okay. We can make deal with Prime Minister. We can make business deal with this guy. But what about your sisters, mothers, brother, father? What about? Is it only about your business dealing? What about the injustice happening against your mom, dad? All this, and plus all the social situations, all this inflation, high unemployment. It's very disappointing to hear that our kids are unemployed after graduating universities, sitting with their family, the potential. So that's why we're looking for a different leadership, a leadership that can be respected at home, and the leadership that will get a grand innovation in European countries, European Parliament, or in Canada, or USA Parliament, and this will give an opportunity for citizens to go for scholarship, to do business around the world, and to get money from international financial institutions. Mr. Ruto, I think he got billions of dollars from World Bank, really, after this trip. So that kind of situation must be created. Other than that, we will be suffering. Ethiopians will be suffering under Abiy Ahmed leadership. No hope at all. No hope. Everything is cloudy, and people are suffering through so many conflict, war everywhere in Amara region, in Oromia region, before in different region. Nobody was safe under Abiy Ahmed. Nobody. So we should continue our advocacy for change of government, for better leadership. And that's all I'm going to say for today. Thank you for coming back, for joining me. And see you again with another update. Happy Thanksgiving again. So long, everyone.